Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of an unboxing for Unmatched Teen Spirit, the latest Unmatched box set that has come out. This is a Marvel themed box set. This is the third 3-character Marvel themed box set that they've released. They also had a standalone 1-character box set with Deadpool that they released. So technically this is the 4th Marvel themed expansion that has come out. But yeah, this is a 3-character set. It's got Squirrel Girl, Cloak and Dagger, which is 2 characters, I'm not really sure, and Miss Marvel. I don't really know a whole lot about these characters, but I was really excited about them because they're lesser known characters, and I like when Unmatched goes with lesser known characters. So let's go down to the table, and the first time you're going to be seeing it is also the first time I'm going to be seeing it. So let's dig down, go to the table, and see what's in this box. So here we have our box, and before opening it, I do notice that this artwork seems to be a little bit different than a lot of the other Unmatched stuff that has come out. And I mean, maybe that is just the box cover, but I'm just noticing that that looks pretty different than, pretty distinguishable from the other box sets. So let's go into this box. We got our little pamphlet, shows the other Marvel themed box sets that have come out. Before it was Hell's Kitchen and Redemption Row, Teen Spirit's this one, and the next box set's going to be For King and Country with Black Widow, Winter Soldier, and Black Panther. And of course the one character Deadpool set that came out. We have our typical rule book. That's how many rule books do we have for this game now? 14 or so. So that'll be interesting. We got our little punch outs. We have our health dials, Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, Cloak and Dagger. And Cloak and Daggers, you can see just by here, is a little bit smaller than the other regular characters. So that's interesting. And we got some punch outs. This is probably for the board, because I assume they did the same style, have the little accessories for the board. So that's that. Here's the actual board. And this board, this is called the Navy Pier. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty much standard for, it goes with the other Marvel sets where we're going to place these special tokens and getting those extra special abilities when you go there. I do kind of like those. And what is this? Is this at like some kind of almost like a circus area? Interesting. You got this side, and they continue to do what they've been doing with the maps, having these circles not filled in so you can see a little bit more of the artwork. I do like playing on the regular side better than these ones, but it's an interesting option, that's for sure. So that's the map. We have our characters. Miss Marvel. She's got her big hands, yeah. Okay, interesting. Squirrel Girl. And I really only know Squirrel Girl from the 5-Minute Marvel board game that I play with my son, and she's one of the characters in it, but I really don't know her other than that. I think it's an interesting concept. I heard that she's going to have a bunch of little mini characters, bunch of little sidekicks, so we'll see how those look. And we have what I assume is Cloak and Dagger. And I literally know nothing about these. Do these fit in here? Oh, it almost looked like this one should fit in her. It almost does. Interesting. Interesting little miniatures, as always. Oh, here's Squirrel Girl's little sidekicks, which are just a bunch of little squirrels. I hear this set introduces tiny characters, so it's kind of like large characters. Now we got tiny characters, so she's got a ton of these sidekicks. We got, oh, this is Miss Marvel's deck. You see the artwork for that. Let's get this open. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's interesting. Her arms just go all wacky. I know she's basically like Miss Stretch Armstrong almost. So Miss Marvel, she's a melee character. She moves 2. Her special ability is Stretchy. At the end of your turn, you may move Miss Marvel 1 space. Miss Marvel can attack from up to 2 spaces away. So that's interesting. She's almost like a ranged character, but not quite. And she can move at the end of her turn. What's the other character that can move on there? Is that Robin Hood that moves at the end of his turn? I can't quite remember. It's basic card. Big windup. During combat, if Miss Marvel shares no zones with the opposing fighter, you may boost this card. Okay. Easy peasy. After combat, draw 1 card. Then if you have 4 or more cards in your hand, deal 1 damage to an adjacent fighter. So she wants lots of cards in her hand. If Miss Marvel is in more zones than the opposing fighter, the value of this card is 6. So that's interesting. Then you got your feint cards, your regular feint cards. Fangirl. During combat, the value of this card is equal to the number of cards in your hand. Okay. Draw 2 cards, and you may spend an additional action to draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. So it sounds like she wants to keep basically a full hand of cards. She's going to get some bonuses for it. If Miss Marvel's space shares no zones with the opposing fighter, draw 2 cards. Yeah, so a lot of hers is just dealing with having lots of cards. Shrink, shrink, shrink. After combat, choose 1 effect. If Miss Marvel's space shares no zones with the opposing fighter, do both. Your opponent discards 1 card and move the opposing fighter up to 3 spaces. Okay. So she seems like an interesting character. She wants to have lots of cards in her hand and having to deal with which zone her and the other fighter are in. Going to the Squirrel Girl deck. So Squirrel Girl, yeah, that's very different artwork compared to some of the other Unmatched sets. Whether you like that or not, artwork's always opinionated, so you can make up your own opinion about that. So Squirrel Girl, she's a melee fighter. She can move 2. Her special ability is Go Nuts. At the start of your turn, summon a squirrel in a space adjacent to Squirrel Girls. Squirrels are small fighters. Do not start with any squirrels on the board. And she has 8 squirrels as her sidekicks. So it'll be interesting seeing how she interacts with the tiny characters of this. So for a squirrel attack, during combat, if there are 4 or more squirrels in the opposing fighter's zone, the value of this card is 5 instead. So it looks like you want your squirrels to be, it's going to be depending on where the squirrels are for some of these cards. Call of the Wild. During combat, if there are 4 or more squirrels in your fighter zone, the value of this card is 4 instead. If you won the combat, draw 2 cards. Yep. After combat, move Squirrel Girl up 3 spaces. Nothing new for there. Eat Nuts. Squirrel Girl recovers 2 health. Summon a squirrel in a space adjacent to Squirrel Girl. And she's got her feints. Fuzzball special. After combat, move each squirrel up to 3 spaces. So 1-time card. After combat, summon 2 squirrels in any space. So sounds like you're going to be able to get these squirrels out pretty quickly out onto the board. Horde of Squirrels. Choose a space with 4 more squirrels adjacent to it. Deal 2 damage to a fighter in that space. Kick Butts. Increase the value of this card by +1 for each squirrel adjacent to the opposing fighter. So it almost seems, in a way, it's going to be like how the Raptors are, and they want to be surrounding your opponents in that manner of speaking. Network of Spies. Look at an opponent's hand and choose 1 card from them to discard. If one of their fighters is adjacent to 4 or more squirrels, choose 2 cards instead. Oh, you could lose 2 cards? Wow, that could be a very powerful card. That could be a game changer right there. Here's a defense card. After combat, move Squirrel Girl up to 3 spaces. She may move through sidekicks. Do not count movement for spaces containing sidekicks. Oh, I was wondering what they were going to be doing with this, because you can always move through your own sidekicks. So you could end up moving quite a few spaces away from people. So maybe it'll be like Sun Wukong, where maybe you want your sidekicks to be close to the people and just run away with Squirrel Girl and have your little squirrels attack them. Skirmish. Summon a squirrel in Squirrel Girl's space, then place Squirrel Girl in any space in her zone. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. If there are 4 or more squirrels adjacent to the opposing fighter, cancel all effects on the opponent's card and ignore its value. So this is almost, could be basically a feint card. So that is interesting. Bite of Steel. If there are 4 or more squirrels in the opposing fighter's zone, the value of this card is 5 instead. Yeah, so Squirrel Girl could be an interesting character. It all depends on where her squirrels are on the board. It'll be interesting to see how these characters play. We have our Cloak and Dagger set. It's an interesting cover. Like I said, very, very different artwork, it seems like, from the other Unmatched sets. So, Cloak and Dagger, melee character again, so all of these characters are melee, except Miss Marvel's kind of almost a ranged fighter. She's only moving 2 as well. After you attack, if Cloak dealt at least 2 combat damage, your opponent discards 1 card. Refraction, after you attack, if Dagger dealt at least 2 combat damage, gain 1 action. So the actions are definitely going to depend on which character you're fighting as or attacking with. So this will be an interesting deck, I think. After combat, if Cloak played this card, place the opposing fighter adjacent to Dagger and gain 1 action. Oh, that'll be interesting. So it's definitely going to matter which cards you're playing for which time. Chosen Fate. Deal up to 4 damage to one of your fighters. Your other fighter recovers that amount of health. Draw 2 cards. So if one of Cloak or Dagger is feeling really injured, and the other one's full of health, you can kind of give the other one health, but you're going to take some damage. So if you want to keep both your characters alive, it's a great card for that. Commanding Impact. So 5 damage. After combat, draw 1 card. Okay. Pretty basic. Cloak. Dark Force Dimension. Place the opposing fighter in any space. Your opponent discards 1 card. You got your feints. Into Darkness. Choose one of the fighters in the combat and move them up to 3 spaces. Pretty basic card. During combat, you may boost this attack. Oh, here's a huge card. 7 for Dagger. This card's effects cannot be cancelled. If you won the combat, your fighter takes damage equal to the amount you dealt. Oh, it's a big card, but you could hurt yourself just as bad. But you have 2 characters in this one. So it'll be interesting. Living Shadow. During combat, if Dagger played this card, she swaps spaces with Cloak. Cloak is now the defender, and the value of this card is 4 instead. So you're swapping places. Perfect Balance. If Cloak and Dagger are both adjacent to the opposing fighter, the value of this card is 6 instead. Living Light. If Cloak played this card to defend, Dagger recovers 2 health. If Dagger played this card to attack, Cloak recovers 2 health. Very interesting cards for her. After combat, move each of your fighters up to 2 spaces. So that's all of Cloak and Dagger's cards. Very interesting characters. We'll see how these characters work together. I'm very interested to get this to the table. And once I do, after I've played it a few times, I will be back and I will be reviewing this, giving this game, this expansion, a full review. But that will adjourn this meeting, so if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.